Today I wanted to break down a recent shoot to show you kind of the process, the lighting setup, and then obviously the results. This was a little bit unusual, and so I think it's worth taking a peek. Let's jump right in. So this particular setup was interesting because we needed to film inside of an art class, a drawing class, where the students were working, and it was really small, really confined. The lighting was challenging. I'll show you in a minute. But we saw something that we try to utilize for our advantage. And so I think the best way is maybe to show you a behind the scenes shot first, even though it's going to reveal everything at once. But this is the setup. So you can see I'm here operating the camera. The camera is actually on a track in front of me. And then we have our audio guy, Eric, and then Dwayne, who's holding this light, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. You can kind of tell with the colors in this particular picture. There's a window right next to me that's bringing all this light in here, and it's not a windows to the outside, it's a windows towards a hallway, but that hallway is flooded with daylight, and so you can kind of see it all over the back wall here. This kind of, and I know this picture is not color graded or anything like that, but you can kind of see that there's this light source coming in from my right side. And then they had no other lights in the room except the one you see here. And that light I thought was interesting. They obviously use it in order to create and cast a bunch of shadows on the objects that they have, that the students have in front of them. There's just a bunch of pots and different objects in front of them that they're drawing, and they're using this light to create a bunch of shadows for the students to learn how to draw shadows. And I liked that light, and I like the color of it. It's obviously very warm. So I wanted to play with the white balance in order to maintain the warmth of this particular light. But obviously the higher I would turn my white balance, the warmer that light would be, and turn really orange if I go towards the 56. And I felt like at the 40, then I had that kind of balance where I had the warmth of the light, and then my whites were still really white. So now that we've made a decision on kind of what the look that we want to achieve is, we know where all the light sources are, we can now decide how to best light up this scene. And because of the size of the room, the number of people in it, it was really not practical to bring a bunch of light stands, run some cables, and flood this room. And I think it would have kind of killed the atmosphere, that warm feel look that we have from that one light source. And so using the tube light was really a great way to go. With those tubes, you can actually adjust the color temperature, and obviously, we did not want to just set it to 32K to match the other source in the room, or else everything would have been orange. And what I really wanted was to show the difference between the temperature of the room and then the 32K lamp that they're using. And so the tube is actually matched with the camera. So the tube is set to 40K, and that gives us the separation where you can actually see and recognize where the warmth is coming from. Let's take a quick look at an actual shot. I'm going to show you a few different ones. Here's the first one. But you can see here that we have the warmth of that light right here on her arm. We have it all over her hair, right? All over the table back here, all over the background, all over this area. It's flooded with that orange. And I love what it's doing on this particular student's face, even though that's not yet what we're focusing on. The camera is obviously focusing on that student at some point. But I wanted to keep the light in the shot and then the warmth on her face, but still have it pre-balanced. And so you can see here, let me pause this here. You can see that that 32K is flooding that side, but then on this side, we're much more balanced. And that's that light that you saw, that tube light that we use. And that was the key to balancing this whole thing. And let me show you a couple more examples. So from the other angle, this is the same girl that we see from the back. So the light is somewhere over here. And here you can see, let me pause this here. Again, you can see how balanced and, look, the paper looks like paper. It's white, it's not orange, even on her hand here. But then the actual effect of the incandescent light can be felt all over her, right? And even on the paper here a little bit, right? But the tube light is kind of taking care of this area. And it's creating kind of this gradient between the 40K and the 32K color temperature. Now this shot I kind of like too. So this is the student close to the lamp. The lamp is actually right here. And again, we can see how it's hitting her on that side, but then her cheek on the other side. Let me go back a little bit. So again, she's getting a lot of 32Ks coming here, but then the 40K tube is hitting her face here. And that's, again, helpful to keep it balanced, or else she would be orange everywhere. But I love the warmth on the arm, on her hair. It looks good. Even right here, this looks nice with the 32 warm lights. And then a little bit of balance more on this side. Now on this one, the paper is a little bit more orange than the other one. I mean, she's directly under that light. But you can kind of see it here too, where the 40K is kind of hitting this area right here. The other setup I want to show you, same room, we just reversed it. We turned around to the second group in the room. Let me show you the behind the scene. So we just finished filming this group, and now we're going to focus on actually this particular student, but there's a bunch here, and I have a bunch of other shots from the other angles too, but today we'll just look at this one. But here the room actually on this particular side is very different than the first setup. There's a lot more daylight coming into the room. It's a lot brighter. They're actually not using a 32K lamp for their side of the table. The other side, you'll see it, has a lamp, but it's not really affecting our shot. And it was important for us to change the camera white balance to 45K, just so that we could compensate for the extra daylight coming into the room from that particular side, and I'll show you that. But here you can see the 32K temperature. You can feel the 56K coming through from the window. And then the tube, I believe the tube was set to 40K on the first setup, and I'm not sure that we changed it. And I'll show you why I believe that's the case. I obviously don't remember the exact setting for that tube right now. That was a few weeks ago. But I'm wondering if we left it at 40 instead of switching it to 45. And I don't know if we actually tried at 40 and we didn't like it, or we tried it at 45 and didn't like it and went back to 40, or we simply didn't change it. But let me show you why I'm thinking that happened. Let me put the shot up. Let's start with this particular shot. So here you see just the influence and how much 56K is coming into the room and how much brighter that side of the room is. And that's why we needed to change our color temperature in camera to 45, or else those would have looked very blue back there. But here's what I'm thinking. So here, his paper is looking a little warm, which I like. It looks great. But I'm wondering if by having the camera set to 45K and the tube at 40, then we get this little warmer feel versus a flat color. So I would love to believe that we did that on purpose, that we didn't change it to 45K, we didn't change the tube to 45K in order to maintain kind of a certain warmth to the image to match the first setup. That would make sense to me. It's totally possible that we didn't think about it. We made a mistake and left the tube at 40 instead of switching it to 45. But I'm going to take the credit and say we did it on purpose because, again, I think it fits very well and it matched the other shots a lot better by keeping that warmth. If that paper was pure white, kind of like this one, I think we lose a little bit of the continuity between the two setup. But the tube is not just used to light up, the drawing. It's actually used kind of to highlight his hair. And you see it here. It's highlighting all of that. If we didn't use that tube here, his entire head would be this dark. In order for me to have the correct exposure on his face, then his hair would look very dark. And so that tube is really just creating those highlights. So that's it. Nothing very complex, just a little bit of thoughts prior to recording in order to identify what's important, the colors that you want to maintain, identifying the light sources, understanding white balance, and then using proper technique and the right tools to achieve the results that you want. Now, in the description, I have a free download for my free camera setting cheat sheet that you can use if you're pretty new to filming in manual and you want to refresh yourself on what those settings are. Go download my free camera setting cheat sheet. I also have a full online course on camera settings, so I'll put that description as well. I'll see you next time. In the meantime, happy filming.